This is the one. This is the working title. It's called Death of Potholes. There are many ways for a person to, in my profession, to dispose of a body. Over my career, I've come up with 9 foolproof ways. There are countless others, of course, but they all come with risk of getting caught. I don't like risks. So when the loudmouth in Tony's group kept pestering me about what I did with the bodies, I started fantasizing about where I disposed of his and whether it was time to come up with the 10th foolproof way. At that point, Tony must have noticed the irritation growing up around me. He jumped in. Enough, Davey. Mr. Lyman is a professional. That's why we hired him. I don't need details. Neither do you. Capiche? Tony Corolla was the head of the Freeways and Streets Building and Repair Union. He and his entourage of 5 chuckle-headed yes men were seated around a large table at Penny Pete's tap room. They were here after midnight on a weekday to wrap up my contract and pay me. I don't know if Tony expected a report, but I was going to give him one. Thank you, Tony, I said as I walked over to retrieve a tray that held 2 bottles of whiskey and 6 glasses. I prepared them earlier and stashed them all behind the bar. I placed the tray in the middle of the table. His underlings didn't hesitate to partake. The job is done? Tony asked. It's being completed even as we speak, I answered. Good, he said. The light goes on and you get paid and we all get out of this dump. He passed me a thick envelope. Right, I said, even though I hated hearing Penny Pete's place being called a dump. It wasn't. But first I'll give my report. You need to hear this. The other 5 looked over at Tony, puzzled, waiting to see what he was going to do. Get up and leave or hear my report. Tony stayed seated. He pulled out a cigarette from the silver case, lit it, took a long drag, and blew the smoke over his head. He sighed, and he poured himself a drink. This ain't a long report, he looked back at me, right? I didn't answer. So the Mark's name is Oren Pai. He once worked for Dubai Asphalt, though he'd never been to Dubai, or anywhere else in the Middle East as far as I knew. He'd been working in a research and development satellite branch in Hoboken. He left there and went freelance as a street science consultant. Brilliant guy from what? Tony held up his hand. Junior, have you ever heard of this guy? He glanced back at his idiot son, who looked like he was starting to doze. No, Pop, never. Any of you other guys? They all shook their heads, blank looks on their faces. Go on. Right, I said. Pai had developed the method of milling old roads so there was literally no imperfections. Then he applied what I can only describe as a revolutionary type of asphalt that stays smooth, expands and contracts in different weather conditions without buckling or cracking, is easy to repair, and requires little, if any, maintenance. Even after digging through it for utility line repairs, the asphalt levels itself. No bumps, no edges of patches, and not even a chance of potholes. It won't disintegrate, ever. Tony cocked his head slightly and squinted at me as I spoke. I could tell he was confused. He must have noticed the tone of respect in my voice and my body language. On any other night, I might have backed it all a bit, but not tonight. So, Tony was slurring his words, and even he noticed it. He cleared his throat. So, what is this asphalt? What's in it? I don't know the exact composition, of course. He explained some of it to me. It's partly his own proprietary chemical mix, some present-day stuff that's already being used, and road technology that the ancient Romans used, including what Oren Pai called a secret sauce. Apparently, everything in it is local to this country and relatively cheap, fast and easy to do, and the road crews are bare bones. Not many guys need it. Tony scowled and wiped the thin sweat from his forehead. He cleared his throat again. Secret sauce? So what's the secret sauce? I'm getting to that. You'd be surprised. I guarantee it. But first I want to tell you about the roads and how absolutely astounding they are. Astounding? He was starting his words a lot now. Yeah, we heard about these astounding roads. That's why we hired you, he coughed. But this country don't need no astounding roads. The way we built them is just fine. Especially because we know we'll be repairing them further down the road. He waited to hear a reaction from his guys, figuring that some of them might have laughed at his lame pun, but there wasn't a sound. He turned to see they were all unconscious. What the hell? He turned back to me and nearly fell out of his chair. The kitchen door behind me opened and a tall, thin wisp of a man came through, followed by 10 short, very muscular men. Those 10 circled the table and proceeded to zip tie the wrists and ankles of Tony's people and began carrying them out back through the kitchen. This is Mr. Oren Pai, Tony, the man you hired me to kill. Tony groaned and blinked in an effort to keep his eyes open. I suppose he realized at that point that the whiskey bottles I prepared had been drugged. I have a pet peeve, you see. I always wondered why, when your people build new roads, those roads aren't perfect. Why aren't they smooth? I mean, after all, they're brand new. New construction. There's no reason to ride over what shouldn't be as smooth as glass. They never are. I'd be riding for miles on newly poured roads, and still, I'm feeling every bump and dip, every jerk and imperfection, sloppiness, I imagine, laziness on the part of the workers, I suppose. Your people have no reason to make those, you have no reason to make those roads perfectly smooth. They've been made that way for hundreds of years, and few drivers ever really complain about them. They just accept. It's this way because it's always been this way. And resurfacing and repaved roads are especially even more written. Drivers must think, well, the roads have been milled, but you can't expect them to be as good as they were when they first built. And why not? And then there's the patches. I don't think I've ever driven down a road or street that didn't have at least one patch from the water department or some other utility company digging it up. And then your guys coming back to fill it in. Those patches are never even with the road. They're even bumpier and better than potholes. But better than potholes, right? Tony is sweating more now, and he struggled to keep his eyes open. Potholes! I almost shouted. I wanted to have his full attention. Potholes are the cancer on city streets. More profanities have passed through my lips because of potholes than for any other reason. But you and your people don't seem to mind. It's just a natural state of things. Tony, I spoke loudly, standing up. I have never not completed a contract that I agreed to. Never not taken out a mark. And I've done some nasty things. People in my business always do nasty things. I can't tell you the number of marks that have pleaded with me, tried to reason with me, tried to bribe me, or uselessly threaten me. And I have never capitulated until now. Mr. Pye is a most persuasive man. Two of Lawrence Pye's men returned and stood on either side of Tony, lifting him to his wobbly feet. Secret sauce, Tony mumbled. Secret sauce. His head swayed slowly side to side, uncontrollably. Right, I said, it's blood, Tony. It can be of any animal blood, but tonight I grinned, and so did Lawrence Pye. It's your blood.
Okay, we have a 10-minute break. That's just enough time to drive your waiter or waitress crazy with all your requests. It's also enough time to go out and go back and look at the books in the back corner, and we'll be back in 10.